we do, yeah, thanks ever so much for joining us, Matt. So for those of you who are not aware, Matt Daniel Baker is a fantastic a mentalist, an illusionist, a magician, all of those things, all rolled into one, all nicely packaged.
Yeah.
So as part of our virtual chat today, I wanted to just sort of have more of a chat with you, Matt, about your industry, what you've been up to during this crazy year. I can't believe we're in December already. And really just getting to grips with how you've had to adapt really in this time virtually. Yeah. So welcome. And
thank you very much.
It's good to have you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
So in terms of yourself, Matt, how long have you actually been in the magic and illusion industry?
I was 23 when I very first started. So about 6 years ago. Bad connection. And it was quite interesting because I always liked magic and stuff like that. But I used to be an actor, and I was working front of house in a theatre, and I was on the train going to work, and a guy got on who was homeless and obviously wanted money, and he said, I'm not here to beg. I'm not, he said, I want to earn it, and he got a little yellow hanky out and put it in his fist, and it disappeared. And I was sat there and I was like, what? And then he made it reappear, and everyone gave him some money, and I was like, that's incredible. So at the time there was a magic shop in Charing Cross called Davenport's, which is sadly no longer there, but I went in there and I told them the story, and they said, oh, you want this? And I bought it, and that was it. Off I went. And it's a sort of I suppose it's a little bit bittersweet in a way, because I feel like I owe it all to that guy doing that thing. And as a result of him doing that, I now have a job, or I have a job that's taken me all over the world, and literally became my job because of that. So it was about 23 when that happened.
That's really good though, because I was going to say what made you do it, but I mean, what a great story for that guy doing that. It's it's a shame, isn't it? So obviously, you don't want them to be in that position.
No, exactly. But there's, I mean, the thing with it more than anything, it was that it was enough to resonate with me to change what I was doing, or at least to incorporate it. I still carried on acting, but I was doing magic at the same time. And there's two kind of went hand in hand, because with an acting career, you can't really control it. You're at the mercy of people, not judging you, but seeing if you're right for their part, whereas with magic, you're in control of it. And you dictate what you do with that, as long as people book you, but you're in control. So as much as as I say, it is bittersweet, at the same time, I responded, I suppose, to the magic that he did. So he had not only a profound effect on me, but it was working for him in how he was using it, and I hope that he went on and was all right.
I know it would be amazing, wouldn't it, if you found him after this time. But yeah, I love the fact that resonated with you, and that was one of the turning points in your career. As you say, you're an actor, so tell us a little bit more about that journey.
I don't know. I think I'm just a born show off, I suppose. I seem to be drawn to stuff where I actually started off playing football. I played for Watford as a schoolboy, going all the way up, and then as I was going through school, I started doing a few plays, and then I left school, joined an amateur operatics society, started doing plays, got an agent, started working in the West End front of house. I worked at the Victoria Palace for about 2 years when Buddy was on, and then the old Jolson story went in with Brian Connolly, and I worked front of house there. It was about 2.5 years, and eventually I got the lead role in the play, and it went on tour around the country, and then went into the West End for 6 weeks, into the Victoria Palace.
Amazing.
So I literally my West End debut was back on stage where I'd worked front of house for all those years. So that was nice. And then I made a film. I've got a film out, wrote and produced and appeared in a film. It started off as a sitcom that I wrote with my friend. We made a pact that if we ever got to sell this sitcom, we wouldn't sell it unless we were in it. And eventually we got a lot of interest from ITV and they wanted to buy it. And we said, no, not unless we're in it. Stupidly. Cut a long story short, they agreed to part fund a pilot if we met the other half of the funding. So in the process of trying to get the funding, someone said, why don't you just get the funding yourself and turn it into a film? So we did, got the money from Mike Ashley, who owns Sports Direct in Newcastle, and we made a film. Came out in the cinema, it's on DVD.
Amazing.
Yep, that was in 2010. By which time I was performing. I was a professional magician at that point. So the two really were going hand in hand, and the magic was great because it was getting me through doors that wouldn't ordinarily have opened. And people remembered me. If, like, we went to Cannes one year just before we made the film, and obviously everyone's giving out business cards, and you come home with a big pile of business cards. But I was going back and calling people, goes, Matt, the magician, Matt, wow, you know, and inviting me for lunch and drinks. And we were in, while we were making the film, we were in Soho all the time, and everyone knew us because I've been doing magic, you know. So it's really, I suppose I've made it all connect in some way, or it's just been fluid, really.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? When you do what you love, it's like you're not working, like you that's your purpose. You know, that's what you really enjoy doing, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's sort of, it's good that you said that, because I was thinking earlier on about, you know, I knew you were going to ask me about how I've transitioned into doing a virtual show, an online show, and it's the one thing that I would say that's been probably more upsetting than anything, was that I've always found a way of manoeuvring around and getting through everything and making stuff work. And having to do stuff online like this, I knew it was possible, and I knew that I could ultimately create a show that would work. But what was the most upsetting was that, to begin with, it was the least enjoyable thing you can imagine.
I was going to say, what's been the most interesting part of turning your show into virtual? Because it is really very different experiences, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, my career before this all happened was, I'd got to a point where I was doing a lot of after dinner shows. I had a cabaret show, so I'd get booked for corporate events after dinner, you know. I'd go up on stage, get people up, and it was a funny show, it was a mind reading show, but there was a lot of banter, and I'd get people up, and, you know, it was, a lot of it was based on getting laughs, you know. So the first few virtual shows that I did, I obviously just went straight into the act that I knew. I'd obviously manipulated it a bit, but I was just met with a wall of silence, because you mute everybody, otherwise you never hear a word anyone says. So I'd say the stuff that I'd been saying for years, and there was just nothing coming back, like zero. And it was really disconcerting, really horrible.
Really hard, isn't it? It's really difficult.
That feeling, and everything, just even communicating with people, it felt like it was dying a death. But what happened is that people would email afterwards, or the feedback would still be good. And I was getting repeat bookings from the jobs that I was doing. And that kind of was enough to tell me, right, okay, people are watching, they are laughing, they are understanding, they are absorbed in it, and they are ultimately enjoying it enough to want to book me again. So it was a real sort of, you just have to trust that it's good, even though you're not getting any feedback. I mean, I try and get people to clap or do that, but it's not an instinctive.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
And occasionally you see people move around laughing, but you can't see them all at once, you know, because there's so many little screens. It's quite a lonely, it's quite a lonely performance piece.
It is. I think, especially if you're doing it alone, like you say, it's hard to read the audience, isn't it? And despite having the chat function, I think the great thing about your shows are that you do have a lot of participation. So it's not just you talking, you do take people off mute, you do interact with them. And I think that's definitely the recipe for a really successful session, because I think
it's crucial. it's
Yeah.
apart from anything else, it's one of the questions I get asked all the time when people book me, because it's new for everyone. You know, there's no secret to it all. It's just a case of getting on, as you well know, getting on with it, doing it, and just trying to get booked. And but people still can't quite understand how it's going to work. You know, and I'm constantly having to explain what I do without giving too much away.
Yeah, and not that level of reassurance, isn't it? You know, because you don't want to say what the tricks are, and you don't want to say how it works. But
yeah, you know, and when you explain stuff, you know, I get everyone to pretend they've got a dice, and they roll the dice, and they see which number's facing up, and I figure out who's got the person that matches my predict. You know, it doesn't sound like much, but when you're doing it, it's fine and it works, and that's the bit that people can't get their head around.
But they can't visualize it, can they? And I think because
the biggest worry with that is that people feel like they're just watching a TV show.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's not what they want. You know, they want the interaction, they want the engagement with people, and that's the bit that needs the most explaining, is how that works. So if anyone's watching, you're all muted, and then I'll unmute the person that I want to use, and then I'll perform the routine to them. So it might be one person or 2 or 3 different people, depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, it's very interactive, and I've redesigned a lot of the I call them tricks because it's easier, but in my mind they're routines, but I'll call them tricks. I've redesigned them so that I can use more people, and even if I'm only using one person, like for instance the dice thing, ultimately I'm just speaking to one person at the end, but I will get the whole audience to shake the dice and roll it and look at the number, change it if they want. So they all do it, and then I choose the person. So that's kind of a way round of getting everyone involved, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's really important for that interaction, that engagement. And you know, you do switch around your tricks as well. So it's say someone has booked you before and they're like, we've already seen all these tricks. We haven't. Like, you've got a whole range of options, really, that you can throw at them.
That's one of the joyful things. I was saying one of the upsetting things was not having that immediate energy, I would call it. Yeah. Doing it on the internet. But one thing that I have really enjoyed is getting the cogs turning again and coming up with new routines, or you know, having an A show and a B show, or an amalgamation of the two. If you've had, I mean, the good thing about mind reading is that you're always dealing with a person, so it's always going to be different. If I ask you to visualize drawing a picture, that's brand new every single time. Whereas if I'm making, I don't know, a bunch of flowers appear, it's always going to be a bunch of flowers appearing, and that then makes it difficult to have a second show. But with mind reading, you can, you know, there's a few surprises along the way that I link the show up at the end, which is basically a prediction of everything that's gone on. So you don't want to spoil those surprises, but 9 times out of 10 I can repeat a show and it will all be completely different, which is great.
Well, and you know, the other thing that I love about you, Matt, is that you're so adaptable, and I think also being an actor really helps. So I know you helped us with one of our clients' quiz tournaments. So you came up with the quiz questions and answers and the routines in between that. So it's not just about your show; you're quite flexible to work around what the client's remit is as well. So I think that's something really good as well. That's
really just come out of making stuff happen over the years. I've done enough horrendous jobs and horrendous gigs. Stuff that
you're gonna have to name one now, aren't you?
Stuff that no one wants to do. I went and did it, and I don't even know why I did it. I just have that little thing in me that wants to give it a go. But over the years of doing all those things, you suddenly have all these weapons that they come back and serve you well over the years. And now, if there's a bit of a problem or a bit of an odd job, I am a moth to a flak. I have to do it, no matter how bad it is. Something wrong with me.
Oh, there isn't. I just like the fact that you're flexible and adaptable, and I think that's important. You're not like stuck in it's got to be like this. you know, mentality.
Well, it's a
And I
survival
think
tactic as well, to be honest.
Yeah, but I also think it's part of what we've had to do this year. We've had to all adapt. We've had to, review how we operate. You know, all
Absolutely.
of us, whatever industry. So for any people out there that are sort of sitting there going, oh, you know, vaccine's imminent. What are we, what are we going to do? Do we sit still and not really do anything to change anything, or do we go for it and just, adapt what we need to? What would be your message to them?
First of all, there's no secret to it with anything, and especially with social media. People are posting stuff all the time, and there's an assumption that they know what they're doing, and it makes you feel worse. It pulls you further back than you already were, because you just don't understand why you haven't clicked into that mindset. And there is no mindset. There's just literally, what's your product? What's your thing? What have you got? What do you offer? And how can you offer that online? I mean, that's it. That's all it is. And like anything, we're all different. We're all in the same industry, but we're all different. I know tons of magicians that are brilliant magicians that have been booked solid for years and years and years that haven't done a single virtual event. They just haven't. They either haven't connected with it, or they haven't figured out how they do what they do using it. Yeah. And it's just as simple as that. You'll either do it or you won't. If you've got something and you can find a way. Now, what that way is, I don't know, but really, just give it a go. If you try just one thing, it's not going to be for nothing. Something will come out of it, or you'll learn, okay, I'm not doing that again. I'll try this, and that's it. And it's horrible. But there's been a lot of talk about people retraining and having to get different jobs, and that's what it boils down to. I've been lucky enough that I've made this work, and no one was as surprised as me at how busy this December and November actually would become. I mean, it was almost a shock, and I felt like a lot of agencies, a lot of event agencies and event bookers had almost been waiting to see what the Christmas month would be like. And when we had that second lockdown, that's when
it went mad, didn't it? It went ballistic. Everybody panicking. We need to stuff out.
For next year, all the corporate sort of rumblings of bookings, it all just dropped again. And that's when I thought, okay, this virtual stuff's sticking around. And then as long as nothing goes wrong, I'm probably going to have one of the busiest Decembers I've ever had. And December is always a performer's dream. You live 11 months waiting for Christmas. It used to be a great time, but it's weird. And the whole booking thing, I mean, I've spoken to you about this numerous times, even logging on just before this. It's a whole different way of
it's totally different, isn't it? Yeah.
Blowing my mind. I hold my hands up. I can't cope. It's not, if I was doing an after dinner show, you'd get booked Thursday night. You're on at 9 o'clock. Brilliant. I'll drive up there at 1, have something to eat, fall asleep somewhere, wake up, do a sound check. You're on at 9. Yeah. But this is like, I'm on at 4:15 till 20 to 5, and then I'm on at 5 till 4:30. Then I'm on at 5 till 4:30. And there's something now. It's turned into little time slots. So you're doing multiple jobs in one day in these little time slots.
In real condensed. Yeah. And some of it's like quite big production stuff as well, and you're like, it's like trying to condense it all and manage everyone's expectations. And
absolutely,
because it's virtual, it's an instant thing, like now. So it's a completely different mentality and way of delivering stuff.
One thing I hate, it will never go away about it. With an in-person event, you're backstage. The audience is out there. The microphones all work. Everything's fine, and you walk out and off you go. With this, you set everything up. I get all this up, get all the lights up, get everything going. And you still don't know until you hit the button whether it's gonna work
Yeah.
when it's going to actually connect to the internet, or and that's horrible. That's just a horrible.
Well, also because you're not in control of all the participants, so your connection would be absolutely wonderful, but it's the participants, and sometimes they can drop in and out of connection as well, can't they? So yeah, there's all those anomalies that you can't really do.
Yeah, and it's what also is funny. You just reminded me saying that, because particularly on Zoom, mine's set up to have 25 people on the screen rather than 40.
Yeah.
And so it'll go across the screens. But because I'm generally on speaker view, so I'll take the whole screen up, people forget that they're on camera. And it's nothing to do with my show, by the way, but you see people starting to sort of fade away, and they start sitting there, and then they're on their phone a little bit, and they're completely oblivious to the fact that I'm standing there staring at them, and I can see it. And rather than taking it to heart and going, "Oh, I've lost the crowd," I actually have a go at them, and I'll get their name, and I'll say, "Can you get off your phone? I'm over here." And it's like you just run into their room, around the face, and run back out again. They're like, and then suddenly, they're fully aware that they're being watched. But I have seen some sights. I tell you, there's I did a show the other night, and it was for a company in New York. So it was it later? Yeah, it was later at night for me. And I chose this guy, and he unmuted himself, and I don't know what happened, but he went from sort of being this big, and he went further back, and his wife was suddenly there, and she was wearing a top. It was like a vest, and that was all. And she was really pale, but his name where she was sat was here, and it literally looked like she had nothing on, and it popped up on my screen. And I said, "Is that your wife?" And he said, "Yeah." And I didn't know how to say it. Like, has she got any clothes on? Like, what's the? And because he was sat with her, he could see she had clothes on. But to everyone else, she looked at it. I don't know why I told you that story. It's not appropriate for half one. But yeah,
it's a bit of entertainment, that, don't we?
There's a lot of comedy to be had. My end, watching people getting that they're on camera. It's a real goggle box.
Oh yeah, I bet it is. I bet it's a real goggle box moment, definitely. Well, I've chewed your ear long enough, I think. It's really fascinating, though. I could natter to you about it for ages and ages. Before we ask you to do some of your tricks, if people come off video, I'll bring their video on. But does anybody else have any questions for Matt at all?
Oh, don't do this to me.
To the floor.
What I want to know is how long is your show typically, like lengthwise?
It's about 45 minutes. It depends. Again, it's one of the things that I've had to learn. Some people just want your show, and they'll go, "Yep, do your show. Doesn't matter how long it is." Some people say you've got 2 15-minute slots, one at 3:15, one at 20 to 5. And it's the same event, but you're on there, then on there. Some people just want half an hour. I had to do one that was an hour the other day, which I strongly advised against, because it's painful for people sitting staring at their laptops for that long, But typically, there's a sort of a sweet spot where you feel like you've let the show evolve, and then, you get to the end, and then you do your big finale bit. That's, for me, that's about 45 minutes.
I agree, actually. I think any entertainment that's any longer than that, I think you do lose. It doesn't matter what the content is, you lose people after that time.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's actually longer than my stage act was, or is. That was usually around half an hour, but half an hour has just gone on for some reason. Really flies, but it depends what you do. I know you're a musician, Michael, so it's just, for me, it's just a feeling. You know when, all right, even I've had enough of myself, and you feel it when I could have done another 10 minutes there. I felt they were that sort of audience, but it's whatever feels right. It's however you've pieced your act together so that it makes you happy first and foremost. And so it's about 42, 43 minutes. Depends how much I've
I also think it depends on the nature of the event. So if there's a number of elements to it, you can do some comfort breaks. But I would say a maximum of a couple, 2 to 3 hours, really tops for an event, really.
For a whole event, yeah. Because it's a lot. It's a lot for people to sit staring at their. There might be a delivery. I've just had an idea. And there's a dog. Perfect. It's live. It's actually it's a psychological influence to something that I'm about to do. Not all of you will have heard that. Some of you will have heard that, and that will spark a thought in your minds in a moment.
Right, I'm going to. Do you need to get that?
No, it's all right. They might not go away. I can't open the door. Brilliant. So yeah.
Oh, you can't make it.
They might have a question. No.
If you need to go.
No.
Okay.
I'm a professional.
Right, I'm gonna take myself off my pin, and I'll hand the floor over to you, Maps.
Okie dokie. Right, I feel drawn that Sally popped up. Sally Walder. Sorry, don't want to embarrass you, but would you unmute yourself for me, please?
Hello.
Good afternoon. Now, I'm going to ask you, who do you think was at my door? No, that's not the question. I'm lying, but we haven't set anything up. We've never met before. I haven't asked you to come on here. I'm going to do something horrible with you, but it's in the name of fun. I'll explain what it is. Can you just hold your left hand up for a second for me? Just really as close as you can get your palm to the screen, just up a little bit. Okay, perfect. I don't know if you can see my hand, but there's always it's usually the left hand, but there's usually a quite a big M in the lines of your hand. You can have a look in a moment, but you can drop your hand. And it's the money line. When you look at people's palms, you know, there's a health line and a lifeline, all that. There is actually a money line, and I'm going to play a little money game with you. And I want to just double check that this will work with you, Sally. So I'm just going to pop that in there. And can I ask you, I don't want to know the day or the year or anything like that, but can I just ask you what star sign you are?
Cancer.
Cancer. And can you see this this thing up here? This piece of yellow paper?
Yeah.
I had a little feeling at the start of the show that this might be good for you. Let's pop that up there for you, Sally.
Oh,
but as I say, I am going to play the game, and it involves money. Now, the second I show you the word money, that's going to make your decisions very different to what they would have been without the money. Okay? If you know that there's money involved, it's going to make you decide in a very different way to how you normally would. So I'm going to tell you, Sally, that I've got 4 pieces of card, different colours, and on the back of one of them is written £50. Okay? And on the other 3, there's just a red cross, which means you haven't won the money.
Okay.
3 chances at this. Don't decide just yet. But if you win, if you choose the one that's got the money, I promise you, I'll PayPal you the £50. I'll get your email address. I'll do it at the end of this interview, all right?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to warn you not to get upset, because I'm going to do everything I can to not let you win this money. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
I need to prove my powers some way. You ready?
Yep.
So there's green, black, blue, and red. I can tell you the last 4 times I've done this, I've written £50 on the red card. The first card that people pick is always the black card. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
That literally will be enough for you to now make your 3 decisions. Which card do you want first? Green, black, blue, or red?
Green.
The green card, the one staring you in the face, that has got a red cross on it. That's no money, I'm afraid. But you knew you were going to do that because you didn't want to go anywhere near the red one or the black one. Again, as I said, the last 4 times it's been on the red card, and the black card is the one that people normally go for first. But you've got black, blue, and the lovely red one there. Sally, which one would you like?
Black.
You're going to do it. I was going to say you're going to fall right into the trap again of not winning. But that's fine. It's never about the first 2. It's always about the 50-50. One of them's got the £50, the other one hasn't. I might have done that, suggesting the £50 is on the red for the 5th time, and doing that, suggesting that it's not on the blue card. but I do change these all the time, and it's up to you. It's just a 50-50. Which one do you want to go for, blue or red for £50?
Red.
You're going to do it. You're going to go for the red one. Of course you were going to go for the red one. I'm sorry, it was on the blue one. The £50
Oh no.
blue one. It's a horrible trick, but I hope I've proved myself to you, Sally, and thank you very much for taking part. Let's give Sally a little round of applause. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Michael Green, unmute yourself, please, if you would. Michael, now you see, that's it. Have a drink, have a gulp, Sally. Calm yourself down, calm those nerves. Michael, good afternoon. Going to play a very quick little game. I mentioned the thing I do with the dice. It's normally the thing that I open my show with, and I get all sorts of people involved. So, Michael, I want you to imagine that you've got a little dice in your hand, and in a moment you're going to give it a shake and roll it onto the table in front of you, and then just see which number lands facing up. Okay? So do that now, have a look. And I'm hoping, Michael, you'll have rolled to the number that I've predicted in my envelope. Can you see your invisible dice and you're looking at the top number? Yeah? Wonderful. For the first time, can you tell us the number you rolled to, please?
4.
4. What made you go for the number 4?
It's just,
Michael, he's fallen off his chair. Don't feel bad, Michael. You're not the first. You won't be the last. Fantastic. Well done. Good stuff. And now I'm going to end. Mike, I can't use Mike. Mike's a magician. Everyone's just going to go, he's set it up. So what I am going to do is prove a point from earlier on and scare Lisa. You see, there you go. Miles away, having a look, having a rummage through all her stuff.
My son's broken the headphones. I'm trying to fix those for him.
Do that in a second. Can you still hear me?
I can, yes.
I can hear you, which is perfect. I'm going to do a very quick thing with some cards here. It's not a card trick, it's a sort of bit of card influence. 52 cards in a pack, obviously. 51 of them are going to be facing you, Lisa. One of them is going to be facing me. What I'm going to try and do is put that card that's facing me into your mind right now. Now, as you start thinking about playing cards, there's some obvious ones that pop up into your mind, things like the Queen of Hearts. Don't think of the obvious ones. Think of something that you wouldn't have expected to be calling out right now. There's red cards, black cards, hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs, the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, jack, queen, and king. Lisa, by now, you should have one card in your mind, do you?
Yeah.
And was it the card that you was originally thinking of, or have you changed it?
It was what I was originally thinking of.
You went with the original one and didn't change your mind?
Nope.
Sneaky. But it's good though, it's good, because I think you give you the opportunity to change your mind, and that's important. So Lisa, out loud for the first time, which card do you think is facing me?
2 of diamonds.
2 of diamonds. What made you go for the 2 of diamonds?
No idea.
No idea. Look, I'll do this as carefully as I can. I'm going to open these cards up, all facing you. I'll do it. I know there's a bit of glare there, but I'll squeeze through. You should see just one card facing the wrong way out of all of these. Can you see that?
Yep.
And guess what, Lisa? Diamonds. There it is. You can go back to your bag rummaging. Show's over.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Okay.
There you go. There's a little blast of what you can expect to see in my show, in my mind reading show.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, it's great to have you on. It's nice to hear a little bit about your backstory as well. I think it's important for people to hear sometimes, and also your journey this year into virtual. So congratulations, because I mean, you know our clients love you. We've had so many bookings and referrals. So keep up the great work.
I will do. And thank you to you as well for finding me and pushing me out to everyone that you know. It's been brilliant. And I was just going to quickly say what surprised me as well with all of this is that a lot of the agencies that I worked for in person are just not on my radar anymore. A few of them are, but there's a whole new load of people that I've met that have jumped on the virtual stuff that I've never met, never heard of. And it's amazing. There's like a whole new people like your good self, Joe, just making stuff happen. So thank you
No,
First of all,
well, it's our pleasure, and yeah, keep doing the great work, and well, thanks everyone for tuning in as well, and letting us unleash Matt on you. But yeah, we'll be doing another virtual session next week, so we'll update you on that. But for now, thanks ever so much. Have a great day, and thanks again, Matt.
brilliant.
Thank you very much.